Everyone hits a bump in the road. What do you do with it? Be inspired as we explore the ways people experience, navigate, and manage the ups and downs and twists and turns in this road trip called life. Welcome to another episode of Bump in the Road. The basic podcast is always free. We also have a premium subscription called Bump 2 that lets you listen in on extended behind-the-scenes conversations with our guests. Check it out at www.bumpintheroad.us. Jo Taylor is a remarkable woman. At just 38 years old with 2 young children, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She'd later be diagnosed with metastatic disease. The median time of survival for that is just 2 to 3 years. This was not the path a young mother would choose. But Jo poured herself into the breast cancer community and has made a difference for people globally. She founded ABC Diagnosis, a UK website, and is the founder of MedUp UK, which deals strictly with metastatic disease. Here is Jo's story. Jo, welcome to Bump in the Road. If you would, tell us a bit of your story.
Hi, thanks Pat for having me. Really nice to meet you. So where do I start? I was on maternity leave at 38 years old. Went out the night before to a birthday party, 40th birthday party of a friend's husband. Myself and my husband, it was the first time that we'd been out for quite a while because I was on maternity leave. My daughter was only 5 months old, and we had a great night, had selfies, had a few drinks, got home. Next morning, it was a Sunday morning, and husband went down to make a cup of tea, came back up, but in the meantime, I actually lifted my arm and scratched under my right breast, found a lump, and immediately thought, what is that? Is it something to do with, because I've been breastfeeding, breastfed both of my children, always had that mentality, breast is best, whatever they tell you. This carried on all day. Didn't mention anything to my husband. Thought I'll just keep checking it to see if it's still there. Is it something else? And I thought, well, the next day I'm going to speak to my GP, so the doctor's surgery. Rang them up, told them I found a lump, and they basically got me in the same day and was checked by the doctor. And she did a check of my right breast and said, it's a substantial lump, we'll need to get you checked out. And this started the journey of finding out that I had breast cancer. So 2 weeks later, I was diagnosed with primary breast cancer. Had no idea about breast cancer. Had no breast cancer in the family, didn't know anybody else who'd had breast cancer. It was a massive shock to me being on maternity leave and being a young mum. And you're just thrown into this, I'd say a bit of a washing machine, I'm just literally thrown about in this complete alien world of going to have a biopsy and a scan and checks. And it was just really, really a very odd time. It was my friend's son's birthday in the midst of all this. And I remember going to this birthday party and having to be jolly and happy, being strapped up with, they'd taken about 3 or 4 different biopsies in an area and having this bruising and not being able to say, I didn't even want to speak about it. Obviously my husband by this time knew about this. He'd been with me to appointments. I remember being at this birthday party feeling really completely out of sorts. I felt like I was then in this different world of, I'm just thinking about cancer and everybody's getting on with their life. And yeah, so a week later I was told, so it was like a 2-week pathway that you're on to get your results. And I was told that I had primary breast cancer. And yeah, it was a massive shock.
You were so young.
Yeah, I was young, but then thinking about it, since there's a lot of women who have been diagnosed even younger. I've met women in the, early to late 20s who have been diagnosed with breast cancer. But yeah, 38, I was pretty young. But you feel like you've done everything right. I wasn't a heavy drinker. I didn't smoke. I was fit. I was running, 10K every time I ran, 3 or 4 times a week. I was fit. BMI was good, and all this kind of stuff. And it just shows you that, like my oncologist said to me, you're just unlucky. It's just one of them things that's happened. And I didn't know that, genetics didn't play that big a part in breast cancer. That was the shock to me. I thought probably all the time when I'd heard anything about check your breast cancer, I thought it was more prevalent to women who had mums and grandmas who had breast cancer. And that was completely wrong. Only around about, 10% of people had a genetic default to get breast cancer. So yeah, massive shock.
There's so many cancer misconceptions. I mean, people with lung cancer, everyone assumes they smoked, and that's not the case.
Yeah,
It's there are all these myths floating out
yeah.
there. I think one of the hardest parts of cancer is the isolation. And at a relatively young age, I mean, that had to be hard. You didn't know anybody with breast cancer. How did you connect with
Yeah,
people?
you're absolutely right there. I remember going into clinics and being 38, a young mum with a 5-month-old and a nearly 2.5-year-old, thinking, where are all the young people? Because everybody it looked like they were 60 plus, and I was there, felt completely and utterly out of my comfort zone. So what did I do? I tried to connect with people in the hospital kind of setting, spoke to the breast care nurse there, and I did kind of connect with a couple of people there at the time. But it kind of wasn't enough. So I think I reached out at the time onto social media. I was pretty new to things like, I mean, this is 15 years ago, so everything was really pretty new. But I think I reached out on Facebook a little bit, and friends and other people whose say parents had breast cancer, and you get the same old story. Oh, my mum, she survived for the last 20 years. She's absolutely fine. You'll be okay, But as a younger woman, I think it's even more concerning because you know that you're not, postmenopausal. You haven't gone through all these kind of things that these women who talk to you have been through. And it felt like it was more urgent that you needed to speak to somebody at a younger age because it was harder to deal with. You've not lived your life really. We were just at the start of I'd been married for 13, probably 15 years at that time anyway. But it was still kind of at the beginning of our, story of having a family. We'd waited for 13 years to have our first child, and it was a conscious decision. I was very career orientated. We wanted nice holidays. We wanted nice cars. We wanted a house, and we did all these things. But all the people that I spoke to had done all these things, and I was just kind of entering this era of a family and young children, and processing that and dealing with that at the same time as cancer was really hard. it was just the fact that, you were dealing with, maternity leave through to menopause straight away. I mean, I literally went straight into menopause. They gave me Zoladex injections, and it was surgery and radiotherapy and, well, chemotherapy and then radiotherapy. And, I was dealing with all that, being bald and not feeling very well, and, just taking the kids to school and having to put my wig on and, feeling quite abnormal to everybody else. Why has it happened to me? I think that's the questions that everybody asks, especially at a younger age. Why me? Why has it happened to me? It wasn't in my family. Why have I been so unlucky with all this?
I think social media has been wonderful in terms of connecting people. I know when I was first diagnosed with lymphoma, there was nobody to connect to anywhere, and every attempt I made to reach out was just worthless. But all of a sudden, with social media, um, the game changed.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I started finding my feet with social media and connecting with people, and that's where I started looking at, could I create a website, because I'd had a not a great experience of reconstruction. I actually changed surgeon within the first 3 days of being told that I had breast cancer. And I think that that's quite unusual in the UK. It's different in America, where you've got private health. It's like private healthcare, but obviously in England it's the National Health Service, the NHS, and people don't do that. People don't change. People don't look and get a second opinion. And I was trying to then additionally empower women that, you don't have to have what they say. You can go and seek out something different than what you've been told, because I wasn't given all the options that I could have had. And that was a problem to me. Why am I not getting the same options as somebody in a similar hospital 20 miles away?
Really?
That wasn't right to me. So I looked at finding somebody else to do the surgery, and found somebody within the same area that I was in, Greater Manchester, which is quite a big area, but there's numerous hospitals within that. And at another hospital within, like I say, 20 miles of the one that I was at, was giving different types of surgery. So I had a latimus dorsi, so using the back muscle, and feeding that into the breast cavity, and as well, 15 years ago it was quite new. It was quite a new surgery, and I had skin saving surgery as well, which again was quite new. So even though they took my nipple away, they still left the breast, the skin there, instead of doing a complete mastectomy, just taking it all away and then having an expander in it. They did it all at the same time. So I had a mastectomy and reconstruction at the same time. It was about 11 hours of surgery. Yeah. So that was, yeah, hard in itself. It was massive. It was huge surgery.
Oh,
I honestly didn't think I was going to wake up after it. It's never having any issues like that. I had 2 children, but I'd never had any surgeries. You just don't know kind of what to expect, and then you walk into this. Oh, you decide to do something. Then was it the right decision for me? Actually, looking back 15 years later, probably not. Um, Being a young mum with a 5-month-old that I then couldn't even hold. I couldn't pick her up. The surgery stopped me from doing that for around about 7 weeks. When my husband finally went back to work, because he was supporting me. And Yeah, I think I would have decided something different. I was very headstrong. And really, what I wanted was somebody else to kind of sit me down and say, have you really thought about this? Do you realize that this surgery will, you know, cause this, this, and this? And, you know, you may not be able to do these things. Or, you know, I knew that the kind of things that they ask you, do you rock climb, or do you do climbing or canoeing? Because obviously you need to kind of do this, and the ability to have your muscles to be able to do that, or to kind of do that with a canoe. Well, I didn't do either of them, but it wasn't really about that. I'd say more it should have been about the recovery and how quick can you recover from this. And I think I should have thought about recovery more than actual aesthetics, even though that was important to me still. I think I should have thought more about I could get back to my normal quicker with this type of surgery, just having an implant in. And I really wish that somebody would sat me down or even spoke to another patient. Again, you don't always get to meet people who have had these sometimes life-changing, they are life-changing surgeries, and makes a huge difference if you can actually sit with somebody and talk to them about, how have you been? How have you coped with this? And especially as a young mum.
No, I think that medicine, I'll speak for medicine in my experience of medicine in the States. They're very procedure oriented. They do the procedure, but then their vision and understanding, much less compassion or empathy, does not extend beyond that one event. And you're kind of left on your own to muddle through however you can and try to find, I hate this phrase, I'm going to use it anyway, a new normal, whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. You are, and I have found this through, numerous times with the different surgeries that I've had along the way. That with surgery, you are completely left. It's a procedure that you have, and then you're on your way. Even physio or supportive care there just isn't any. I remember when I had various surgery with my neck because I had lymph nodes involvement when things had happened later on, 7 years later. And I actually asked then, what exercise can I do? How can I help to move my neck better? And he just said, can you do you like swimming? No. Well, that's all you can do. And that was it. And, I was left there with and I still have a problem with the left side of my neck. The muscle there and the kind of the sinews, because I've had quite a big surgery, the big chunk that big, big triangular chunk out of my neck to remove the lymph nodes in that side. So
I think part of the thing with cancer, at least for me, and I think this is universal, is that you get sucked into this medical maelstrom, and you have no sense of control,
yeah,
and you're just desperate to control something because everything's totally out of control. And I found an enormous amount of support in the writings of David Servan Shriver, and Dean Ornish at UCSF did some really interesting research on the impact of lifestyle choices and things. And for me, I clung to that
yeah,
because it was some way I could have control over an uncontrollable situation. But medicine doesn't recognize the things like nutrition, exercise, stress management, and social connection that are just inherently needed in a
yeah,
situation like
yeah.
this.
The holistic side of it is really kind of forgotten. It is just purely medicine, isn't it, and surgery and how to deal with that then. But it needs to be more of a personalized kind of supportive care that patients have, because otherwise, you are just basically on a conveyor belt, going through and being treated. Next patient, next patient. And that's how you feel that you're treated. Yes, you have nurses in between who are supporting you there, but still there isn't that real connection with how you're feeling, what's the best nutrition, like you've said. I'm really big on nutrition, exercise, physical activity. I think it's massively important, not just for your physical health, but also for your mental health as well. And these things really do make a difference to your not just recovery, but actually living with and beyond having cancer, whether you're effectively cured, or whether you've got a risk of reoccurrence, however you're living with it, or whether you're living with metastatic disease. You need that supportive care all the way through the the pathway of how you're treated, and how your surgery and your treatments and radiotherapies, surgeries, everything, because it all makes a difference massively. Yeah.
How have you learned to cope with the uncertainty?
Um, I think throw myself into work. Um, I can honestly say that is, and also exercise, physical activity again. Those two things keep me going, keeps my brain active, working. And yes, I really do need to work on that work-life balance. That is a problem for me, because I am constantly working. If I didn't have to sleep, I probably would work all the way through. That is just the type of person that I am. And there's no point, husband's tried it. Why are you working? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? There's no point in talking to me about that. I will do what I want to do. Um, so, as you can see, I'm probably very, headstrong, and, that is just the way that I deal with it. And I can kind of detach myself from, even though on a daily basis, I talk about cancer, and issues and problems, and, how to deal with things, etc., etc. And but that doesn't really bother me. It helps me as well. I kind of find comfort in that, because I can help other people, and it kind of helps me in my own headspace as well. I know that probably sounds really weird, but
No, no, I think that for
do
a
you
lot
feel
of
like
people
that
who've
as
been through
well?
cancer, yeah, that you want to share the lessons learned, the wisdom. You don't want somebody to go through the incredible pain and difficulty that you go through with the isolation, the uncertainty, the medical procedures, the lack of information.
Yeah,
If you can help somebody through that, it's incredibly rewarding.
yeah, and that I think is why I decided to go on this pathway to creating a website, and all the other things I've kind of got involved in now, whether it's, creating an exercise retreat. I have a 2-day retreat for cancer patients, whether you're primary or metastatic. I welcome both types of people, because I think it's massively important that, we learn from each other as well. And it's that mixing with each other that actually helps primary patients to understand metastatic patients, and vice versa. With metastatic patients, we've probably all been there, or a lot of people have been there already as a primary patient. There are some patients who are diagnosed what's called de novo, which is, your stage 4 straight away. So some people don't get that, that soft, fluffy pink blanket and pillow of, fluffiness of, oh, everything will be okay, you'll be cured. literally straight into metastatic disease. That must be the most horrendous thing ever, to be diagnosed straight away like that. But dealing with all this stuff, creating these website, one-stop shop, infographics. I wanted to help people to recognize red flag signs and symptoms of metastatic disease. And it was just that nobody told me about it. I learned through mainly American advocates, being on BCSM, breast cancer social media, every Monday night, not being able to sleep, being up at 2 o'clock still, seeing the Twitter chats, what were happening, and learning from people like Beth Caldwell and, all the people there that connected with me then. And, I wanted to create something that helped the patients. And when you get told as a patient, and this is what I was told by my oncologist and clinical nurse specialist, they both said that, telling patients about red flag symptoms, it was too scary. And we can't tell people that. It was like, what? How can you not tell
No, I don't
How
agree.
can you not tell people
I'm an
about
information.
that? Yeah.
I'm an information person. Give me information,
The complete lack of information and understanding about, what could happen in the future was unbelievable. And and I've found it's still happening now, even though these infographics that I've created are actually recognised and signposted by our own NHS England, signpost to my infographics, which is a massive big I'm so proud that I've been able to do that and it be recognised like that. But now they've been even translated into 11 languages. So around the world, they are going to be shared all around the world now as well. So through an opportunity with the Global Alliance, which is they do advanced breast cancer conferences every 2 years in Portugal, and the Global Alliance, a global metastatic breast cancer, organisation, and they give me this opportunity to. They were asking for people to create good practice within like a toolkit. So I decided to share my infographic, and they then decided to interview me and ask me more about it. And then it went to the point where they did a webinar, and there was 55 countries, I think it was, and around about over 100 people from 55 different countries who were on this webinar. And then I started getting people saying, can you do it in German? Can you do it in, all these different languages? Can we have it in French? Can we have it in this? I was going, oh no, how am I going to do this? But I got support, and they've now been translated into 11 different languages. So this is going to be huge, monumental help, I think, for around the world. People in, say, proper third world countries who may be able to access this information that may help them. It's just basically a piece of paper that will tell them about signs and symptoms, what to look out for. And it's as simple as that, And if you have these signs and symptoms, these red flag symptoms, go and see somebody about it. And, it doesn't have to be something like an app or something that, only certain people can access. It can be something really simple like that. And I am really, really proud of being able to create that, as well as the retreats and, other things that I do. I connect with various people to do with clinical trials and research. I just try to use my time effectively so that I can help others. And I can, give my opinions and voice my concerns and support. This isn't just about me at all. And it's never been just about me. This is about a community. This is about a group of people who have breast cancer. Many women, in the UK, 11,500 die every year. I know the figures a lot more in America. I think you have something like 103 or 106 women every day. We have 31 women die every day of metastatic disease. And it's, really important to support the community and have that voice, because a lot of people don't have that voice. Well, if I can get in there and speak to researchers, clinical people, pharmaceuticals, whoever it is, lobby the government, speak to my MP, speak to the healthcare system, and spread this information about how to make things better for all of us, then that's the way that I want to spend my time, to use my voice. I guess that's what I've taken on crazily. Crazy cancer lady. I've certainly done that, I think, and hopefully I will carry on to keep making that difference. Because I'm lucky enough to have been living for the last 8 years now with metastatic disease. So what had happened with me is, going back a little bit, but after I was diagnosed with primary disease 7 years later, creating after breast cancer diagnosis, the website, starting talking about the retreats, creating an infographic, I was re-diagnosed with metastatic disease. So found a lump in my neck, ended up with 2 small spots in the sternum as well. And then, you're diagnosed with an incurable disease that, I'm not going to paint a great happy picture of it. This is a killer disease that, patients have a 2 to 3 median life expectancy. Yes, some are living a lot longer, and, drugs have been developed, within this last 8 years that are improving outcomes. But there are still people who, with different types of breast cancer, like triple negative breast cancer, that I've got to give a voice to, because some people aren't even, living for a year after being diagnosed, 2 years. It's not acceptable that we are still saying that this is a pink, fluffy disease and it's a chronic disease. No, it's not chronic. Chronic is HIV living 30 years. Chronic is, having diabetes and living quite a normal life, but having to check yourself every day, numerous times a day, for your blood sugars. But living with a diagnosis that is going to eventually kill you, but you don't know how long that's going to be. Scans every 3 months, treatment every 3 weeks, or however, you whatever tablets, whatever chemotherapy you have to have. That is not a chronic disease, and we cannot call it that until we are living 20 to 30 years with this disease, and we want to be able to live with a disease that, we can manage, and it can be managed effectively. And yes, we're going to have side effects, but, we need that support massively. Drug companies out there creating better drugs, more clinical trials, more access to these drugs. That's massively needed. Genomic testing, all these things add up to what I was talking about before, personalized care, So it's a massive, big issue.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found something in today's podcast that inspires you along your own life's path, because sometimes a bump in the road is actually a portal into a more conscious and meaningful life. You can subscribe to our free podcast at www.bumpintheroad.us or become a premium member to hear the full conversation. Just go to www.bumpintheroad.us for more information and to sign up.